Hi everyone. Today I thought I'd just hop on and share some of my thoughts on something that I'm going to be calling hypercubism and perhaps the psychology of what hypercubism means and why it's important for us to take note to what this exactly means. I've termed it hypercubism for a reason. And as I'm going to be explaining to you how exactly the whole process works, I'm hoping that you'll be able to understand where I'm going with this. Okay, so the reason I want to bring that up is we need to look at the psychology of how certain things take place with regards to what is the primal state of mind. And when I call it the primal state of mind, I am saying that I want you to take note to what is the most primal, first-born thing that is in every human being present. Even if you're in denial about it, it's still there. Aside from the many things that um, is qualified as a primal survival instinct or a primal survival element, I want you to think on the need to have food. And this is not about prepping or anything like that, but I'm referring to you about the psychology of how the exact processes is are being manipulated, how the psychology is manipulated. So now we know that over the last few years, we've been going through the whole process of having your face masked up. And what that represents is obviously, naturally speaking, everyone's been saying that it doesn't take much to note that if your face is covered up, the place of where you put food in is covered up. So that is a symbol in itself. And so what I want to bring to your attention is I want you to take note of exactly why I'm bringing this up. I want you to realize that, for instance, you go into an environment. I want to show you the manipulation of how the psychology works. For instance, you go into an environment where you are essentially going to be purchasing food, or you're going to be eating food. It can be in any environment. It can be in a place of a restaurant. It can be in a place of shopping. It can be any of that sort of places. And you are obviously told that you should be wearing a mask and that there's a psychology in that, even that, okay? And as you're going to these places where you're wearing this mask and you're going to be purchasing food, or you're going to be purchasing a meal at a restaurant, it doesn't matter what specifically what you're going to be doing, but you're taking your child with you. So there are certain things that play a role in this particular process. What I want to share with you is how very diabolical the psychology is about this particular thing. And so the psychology really shows that you are associating you're associating food to be the thing that gives you life, that gives you sustenance, that gives you support in terms of existence. It is your primal drive to have food, and that is where you're going as a human being. And you're entering into these areas, these arenas, I would call, where food is available in only selected ways. Okay? It is not a fresh open market where you'll be going around without a mask. You'll be purchasing food wherever you go, and it's all natural, organic food. And the people there are different as well. It's not that. I'm talking about constructed environments where you're going to be purchasing food. Now, when you have a child with you and you are one of those parents that have um, told the child to wear a mask, or the child is old enough supposedly to wear a mask, the child associates the environment, say the table where you're going to be eating the food or where you're going to be buying the food, as a type of safe place, because that is where food is available. So when you go into a restaurant, for example, and you are going to be ordering a meal, you'll take your mask off to order the meal. Eventually, the psychological change inside of you starts to address that particular spot in the restaurant is a safe space. It is a type of cubic setup that is created by the need to eat and associating that area as a safe space. The watering hole where you go to drink water is a safe space. Otherwise, everywhere else is pretty much fair game for any predator to attack you. You, on a psychological level, start to associate that all the open spaces around you, if you're not aware of it, on a subconscious level even, that those areas are unsafe or controlled environment that makes you feel it's unsafe. And so you cannot then walk around without that mask because that muzzle is blocking you, making you feel that you need to protect yourself at all times. So now, if you're about 4 or 5 years old as a child, you start associating the areas where you can get food as the safe environment. And you start to then see your parents behave in that same way, and they take their masks off. You take your mask off because, I mean, you're looking at your parents and you're looking up to them. And the child, you start to grow up feeling that the environments where you're going are not safe unless there's a place of safety, which is a designated area or a table or a room or a house where you can go in to take your mask off. And only in perhaps your room or in perhaps a place that is outside of a classroom or inside a classroom or whatever. Okay, so now you are already associating that food, the need for food and safety, your security is under threat constantly. And on a psychological level, you're feeling threatened if you're not inside that cubicle arena. And so you grow up growing in your mindset becomes altered in a particular way where you are seeing, you are compartmentalizing communication, social engagement with people. You compartmentalize your feelings, your emotions, how you reason, how you process things. Eventually you become cubic inside of yourself. You become compartmentalized. Unfortunately, you don't have to be 4 or 5 years old to start behaving that way, because many people are starting to behave like that on a psychological level, whether they're aware of it or not, or on a subconscious level, as I would like to address it. So now, once you are in that type of mindset, the next thing that happens is, as you're growing up or as you're going through life, the changes in the social environment start to change. They start to create some sort of psychological drive that the food is under, there's a scarcity program now played out as a psyop. And you start to accept that the scarcity program is really, now it's fight or flight. Now you're affected in that particular way. You are slowly being broken down on a psychological, mind-controlled process. And that only in itself, just the food situation with the mask or the muzzle in itself, is already putting you into a state of disassociation with what is life. And so you can only associate life with living inside of a particular squared off little block, little Lego house. And eventually, when you're old enough or you're in a particular age group, you will then be comfortable going into a smart home where you literally will sit inside of a house that looks like you're inside of a shoebox. And that would be okay for you because you're used to that sort of environment. I mean, because you were grown up, you were raised in that way. And so you will then only receive food or tokens or things, favors, in a particular measured, compartmentalized manner. And that, unfortunately, is part of or adds up to the previous video that I've made where I've discussed to you, where I've shared with you about how the psychology work on the subtle things work on mind control. And so while this is happening, you are then able to not address, not communicate, and you become shut off from engaging with people. So I'd like to share that with you. Pay attention to how you are, where you go in terms of observing your environment and how you can circumvent that is by becoming aware that the need to survive is quite a very serious thing. And if you're able to understand what it is that you need to have to survive, then you will be able to go forward in life and really be able to be unaffected by these particular psyop mind control aspects that are being constantly injected into the system at every given moment in time. You see, these people are so smart that they don't need to do much more other than to terrorize people to be able to then mind control each other, whether it's subconscious or conscious. So be mindful, be heartful, be soulful, be spiritful, aware, so that you are able to transition through all these realities, all these arenas, all these little cubicle, hypercubic drives. Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you. Perhaps listen to this again, and let me hear your thoughts on this. And looking forward to talking to you again. Much love. Bye.